All right, this is Greg Vincent at the National Farm Machinery Show here at the Trimble booth and talking to Sid Siefken. And Sid, you just start off with what is GLONASS and what does that mean to people here?
Yeah, Greg, that's a great question. Trimble Navigation has really integrated the latest GPS technology into our display, specifically the FMX display. It uses both the GPS satellites as well as the Russian Federation satellites, which we call GLONASS. So really what that does for a farmer is it gives you a lot more satellite availability, which means you can run your autopilot longer.
So if you've got, you need 3 satellites to triangulate, right? And,
sure.
And you've got 2 Russian satellites, 2 US satellites. Does it really matter? Do those work together?
Absolutely, they work together, and I think really that's the advantage Trimble brings to the business is we've integrated at the board level in our displays the GPS plus the GLONASS, and so that really allows the farmer the most flexibility. One of the things that you're going to want to remember when you use GLONASS is it's not exactly like GPS in the fact that it takes a base station that generates GLONASS corrections as well. So what we're showing on our map here is all of the blue dots are areas that we're providing RTK corrections, and that's really in conjunction with Trimble and with our local dealers that are providing service into that marketplace. So as we zoom in there, we can kind of see we've got a detailed map of the area, and this will help point it out a little bit more. A lot of coverage here in Illinois, a lot of good RTK corrections that are in place. One of the questions that you would want to ask your dealer is, are these base stations providing both the GPS corrections as well as the GLONASS corrections? And really what that means is that you just get more reliability over longer periods of time. You can run later at night. You don't really have to worry about if your satellite numbers are dropping below that 3-4 level. You can keep on running, and that's really critical in spring planting season. Okay,
one question I just asked you a minute ago is, what about those areas where we don't have the blue dots? Are you still going to get correction in those areas, and what does that mean?
Well, that's a very good question. When you look at this particular map, you'll see some spots where it's the satellite imagery of the ground. If you're operating right here, there's a probability that you won't get any corrections at all. And that's just a function of how fast our networks are growing and how quickly we can get base stations in place. So my recommendation is, if you think you're in an area where there's not coverage, I would seek out your local Trimble dealer and I would ask them about their plans for coverage, because these maps we update weekly because there's so much development that comes through.
What is there? But I mean, there's still, when you say there's no correction, there's still some level of accuracy. What's the accuracy at that point?
Well, if you're working in that area, you're probably going to be relying on either WAS or the wide area augmentation system for correction, or you may select an OmniStar correction at either the HP level or the XP level. So there are ways that you can still operate a Trimble guidance system in those areas. You would just not have the highest level of accuracy, which would be the RTK level of accuracy and RTK with GLONASS. So again, if the GLONASS is really important to your operation, take a look at the map, make sure you've got coverage, and then talk to your local Trimble dealer to ensure that they've got a system that'll work for you in the areas that you farm.
How hard is it to get one of those correction bases in there?
Really, it's not difficult from a technology standpoint. As you notice, we got a lot of blue dots. Really, it becomes an economic decision about how can we afford to expand to that next base station, and that comes with the number of users or subscribers under the network. But typically, if there's an area that you're looking to move into, there's probably more than one farmer that would be in that area that could benefit from the correction. And so sometimes it's just having a conversation with the Trimble dealer to say, man, I'm interested about going right here. And they'll say, well, cool, because I got 2 other guys that are interested. We just haven't got there. We can have one up for you by the 1st of April and you'll be ready to plant.
Is this something a farmer can get on their own farm if they're looking at doing that?
A farmer can do it on their own farm. What I will say is it does take a certain amount of expertise and some really specific knowledge on how to make it work well for you. But we do have farm customers that have their own base stations and some mobile base stations where they go out to the field and take that with them. So there are alternatives if you kind of want to control your correction signal and do well.
Okay. All right, so now we're looking at I guess, tell me what we're looking at here.
Excellent. Well, Greg, what we have here is a great combination of products. A lot of you may be familiar with this particular display. It's our EasyGuide 500 display. We've had the EasyGuide 500 on the market for a couple of years. It's really cool because it's got the integrated GPS receiver into it. The product that's new for Trimble this year is right here. It's what we attach to the bottom called the Field IQ. The Field IQ allows us to be able to go in and control row switching on your planters. So one of the things that's important here is, you know, if you've got a 500, we're going to add some switching to it and these individual clutches for each row. And I know that there are a lot of times their customers wondering about, you know, how big does my farm need to be? What type of planter do I need? I think our message to the marketplace is that with this system, if you're starting from zero and building a system, for under $9,500, you can get an Easy Guide 500, the Field IQ system, and 12 rows of independent switching for your planter.
Now, for lack of a better term, is this kind of a starter kit for going GPS?
It is a starter kit in the sense that we've packaged it to be a system that would go on an existing planter. I know there's a lot of planters out there that are 3-4 years old. A lot of guys still going to get a couple years out of those planters, but yet they want to make those planters efficient. Especially if you're looking at the system, if you already got the 500, then we're just adding the Field IQ and the clutches to the system. So yeah, really think of it as a starter system for $9,500.
Talking to Ted Mayfield here, who's the Green Seeker product manager for Trimble now. Ted, we just came from the clutch system over here. What are we looking at here on the Green Seeker?
So this display is actually the Green Seeker connected to the FMX display. So what's new for Trimble this year is Green Seeker is a new product line that is an acquisition of by Trimble about mid last year in June of last year. And now we're able to actually operate the Green Seeker integrated into the Trimble display. So all the interfaces, all the prescriptions and everything else are actually integrated into the FMX display and are able to do real-time rate changes based on the Green Seeker sensor values, which are looking at the crop vigor or the biomass of the crop.
Tell me about that. I mean, what does Green Seeker do?
Okay, so Green Seeker is similar to a satellite or an aerial image in the fact that it's a remote sensing device, so which means it doesn't come in contact with the plant. For a satellite or an aerial image, you're actually using the sun as a light source. What's unique about Green Seeker is it is using its own light to emit and actually look at the reflectance of that light back to the sensor, and it can be used daytime or nighttime without any kind of interference from the atmosphere that can happen with a satellite or an aerial image. And also we can use that sensor vigor score to make an application change in real time based on real-time data. So if you were going to use an aerial image, you would typically get, it would be, you know, a few days to a few weeks to even, you know, a year old, where we're using real-time data at the time of making an application.